The day my boss fired me, he didn't just end my job, he humiliated me in front of the entire office. He laughed while security escorted me out. Like I was nothing. Everyone watched. Some felt bad, some enjoyed it. But he made one mistake. He thought losing that job meant losing my future. 5 years later, I walked back into that same office. Not as an employee, as the new owner. And the look on his face. That moment changed both our lives forever. 5 years earlier, I was 24 years old and desperate for stability. I had just graduated and landed a marketing assistant job at a mid-sized tech company called Brightcore Solutions. It wasn't glamorous, but to me, it was everything. My boss, Daniel Hart, was known as a strict but successful executive. People respected him, but they also feared him. At first, I admired him. He was confident, sharp, always 2 steps ahead in meetings. I wanted to learn from him, and I worked harder than anyone else. I stayed late. I volunteered for extra projects. I even skipped vacations just to prove I was committed. For 2 years, my performance reviews were excellent. Daniel even told me once, "You're one of the most hardworking employees here." I thought I was building a strong future. I had no idea. I was building expectations that would later destroy me. Things started changing when Brightcore hired a new senior manager named Victor. Victor was charismatic, but extremely competitive. He quickly became Daniel's favorite. Victor had one talent. He knew how to take credit without doing much work. I noticed it during a major campaign project. I created the strategy, designed the presentation, and even prepared the analytics forecast. But during the final meeting, Victor presented everything as if it was his idea. Daniel praised him in front of the entire leadership team. I stayed silent, not because I was weak, but because I believed hard work would eventually speak for itself. That was my second mistake. Over the next few months, Victor slowly pushed me out of important projects. Emails stopped including me. Meetings happened without my knowledge. And when deadlines were missed, the blame somehow reached my desk. I tried to defend myself once. Daniel responded coldly, "You need to stop making excuses and focus on improving." That was the moment I realized something was very wrong. The breaking point came during the company's annual performance review meeting. Every department gathered in the main conference hall. Daniel called me to the front unexpectedly. I thought maybe I was receiving recognition for my work. Instead, he displayed a failed campaign report on the big screen. Victor stood beside him, silently. Daniel started listing problems with the campaign: declining engagement, budget overspending, missed deadlines. Then he looked directly at me and said, "This is what happens when someone is promoted beyond their capability." My heart dropped. I tried explaining that I wasn't responsible for those final decisions. Daniel interrupted me mid-sentence. "This company cannot afford employees who create losses." The room was silent. Then he said the words that changed everything. "You're fired." Effective immediately, security was called. I remember walking through rows of coworkers who avoided eye contact. Some whispered, some stared. I felt ashamed, angry, and completely broken. But as I stepped outside the building, something inside me changed. For the first time, I promised myself I would never allow someone else to control my worth again. The next year was the hardest period of my life. I struggled to find a job because my termination looked terrible on paper. Rejection emails became normal. Eventually, I took freelance marketing work just to survive. Small businesses, low budgets, long hours. But those small projects taught me something corporate life never did: real business challenges. I learned client psychology, sales funnels, brand storytelling. Most importantly, I learned accountability. If a campaign failed, I couldn't blame office politics. It was my responsibility to fix it. Slowly, my freelance reputation grew. Clients started recommending me to others. Within 2 years, I had built a small digital marketing agency with 3 employees. By year 4, We were managing campaigns for national brands. By year 5, investors approached us for partnership opportunities. One investor brought a proposal that completely shocked me. Brightcore Solutions, my former company, was struggling financially. Revenue had declined. Leadership decisions were questionable, and they were searching for acquisition partners. I stared at the proposal document for a long time. Life had just handed me a full circle moment. The acquisition process took 6 months. Negotiations were intense. Financial reviews revealed shocking truths. Many of Brightcore's failed campaigns were caused by poor management decisions, including the project that got me fired. When the deal finally closed, I became majority owner of the company that once escorted me out like a failure. The first day I entered the office again felt surreal. The same reception desk, the same conference rooms, the same hallway where I once walked out in humiliation. Employees gathered for the new ownership announcement. Daniel was still working there. When he entered the meeting room and saw me standing at the front, his expression changed instantly. Confusion, shock, realization. I greeted everyone calmly. I explained the company's new direction, growth strategy, team restructuring, culture improvement. I spoke professionally. No anger, no arrogance. Then came the moment I never expected. Daniel requested a private meeting. Daniel sat across from me, the same way I once sat across from him years ago. For the first time, he looked uncertain. He said quietly, "I didn't expect life to turn out like this." I responded honestly, "Neither did I." There was a long silence. Then he admitted something surprising. He said he trusted Victor's reports during those years without verifying them. Victor had left the company shortly after my firing. Daniel said losing several talented employees later made him realize his management mistakes. He didn't ask for sympathy. He didn't ask for forgiveness. He simply said, "I hope you run this company better than I did." In that moment, I realized something important. Revenge doesn't always mean destroying someone. Sometimes, it means becoming successful enough that their opinion no longer defines you. Daniel eventually chose to resign voluntarily, not because I forced him, but because he felt the company needed a fresh start. Looking back, getting fired publicly felt like the worst day of my life, but it forced me to grow beyond limits I never knew existed. If I had stayed comfortable in that job, I might never have discovered my true potential. Success didn't come from proving Daniel wrong. It came from proving myself capable. And here's what I learned. Sometimes rejection is not punishment. It's redirection. Sometimes humiliation becomes motivation. And sometimes, the door that closes painfully leads you toward a future you never imagined. If you've ever been underestimated, ignored, or treated unfairly, remember this. Your current situation is not your final chapter. Growth takes time. Success takes patience. And sometimes, the best response to disrespect is silent improvement. Tell me in the comments, have you ever faced a moment where someone doubted your potential? And if you enjoyed this story and want more powerful real-life inspiration stories, don't forget to like, subscribe, and join our storytelling community. Because the best stories are the ones that remind us we are stronger than our worst days.